The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe and read by Tilani Pires. The Public Utilities Commission chairman reveals that petrol and diesel can be provided 200 rupees less than the current price. The Minister of Urban Development and Housing says allocation of funds for future development activities is problematic. The Foreign Minister reviews progress on the work of domestic mechanisms in relation to reconciliation and human rights. Women parliamentarians request for a workplace close to homes or pregnant mothers. The Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation powers the Karagahatanna transmission station. And on foreign news, world reacts as UK Prime Minister's endgame unfolds. Sports news, Namibia faces Kenya for spot at 2023 Rugby World Cup. The chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, Janaka Ratnayaka, says, according to the data, petrol and diesel can be sold at a price approximately 250 rupees in Sri Lanka. He stated this when the Committee of Public Enterprises met in Parliament yesterday under the chairmanship of MP Professor Charita Herath to examine the Auditor General's report for the years 2018 and 2019 and the current performance of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. Explaining this further, Mr. Ratnayaka mentioned that this is revealed when checking the statistics on the import prices of petroleum and taxes levied by the government. Accordingly, he pointed out that petrol and diesel can be provided in Sri Lanka at 200 rupees less than the current price. He said that this is his personal statement and he would make the statement after consulting the data. COPE chairman mentioned that the statement made by Public Utilities Commission chairman regarding the fuel price is more serious and the attention of the country is being drawn to this. Therefore, he said officials from the Ministry of Power and Energy and the PUCSL chairman are expected to be summoned before the COPE to inspect the matter in the future. The Minister of Urban Development and Housing, Prasanna Ranatunga, says that the supplementary estimate to be submitted to Parliament will not allocate funds for urban development activities. The Minister said that due to the economic crisis in the country, the Treasury has informed that all the future development activities should be temporarily stopped and the development activities that have been started should also be temporarily stopped so as not to incur losses. The Minister further stated that it can only be said correctly after the supplementary estimate is presented to Parliament. The Minister mentioned this when the members of Parliament inquired about the allocation of funds for future development activities. The Ministerial Consultative Committee on Urban Development and Housing met on Tuesday. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, JUL Pires, co-chaired a meeting with the Minister of Justice, Vijay Das Rajapaksa, recently at the Minister of Foreign Affairs to review progress on the work of domestic mechanisms in relation to reconciliation and human rights. During this meeting, work related to the Office on Missing Persons, Office of Reparations, Office of National Unity and Reconciliation, Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka and the Sustainable Development Council were discussed and avenues were explored to expedite work under these mechanisms as well as to resolve any challenges that these institutions face. The Women Parliamentarians Caucus requests that in view of the current fuel crisis prevailing in the country, the method of assigning pregnant government officials to another workstation close to their residence should be a mandatory implementation. It says opportunity for pregnant officials who cannot be assigned should be facilitated to perform their duties online under a work-from-home mechanism so that it would not interfere with the performing of their duties. This request was made by Chairperson of the caucus, Dr. Sudashini Fernandopulle, in writing to Minister of Public Administration, Dinesh Gunawardena. The Women's Parliamentarians Caucus has also requested special attention towards the possibility of applying this mechanism to the private sector employees. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Powering of the Karagahatanna transmission station of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation is taking place. The station is equipped with 10 kilowatts, 7 transmitters. A high-powered RF cable system imported from Italy is now being installed. The chairman of the corporation, Hudson Samarasinghe, inspected the installation today. The Director Engineering, Pridarshana Gamage, said it is possible to complete the modernization of the station by Saturday. Chairman Hudson Samarasinghe said that the SLBC will be able to cover half of the country after powering the Karagahatanna transmission station. The Inspector General of Police, C.D. Vikramaratne, says that there will be no obstacle for peaceful protests. Issuing a special statement, the IGP said that the police always respect the rights of speech and expression guaranteed by the Constitution as well as the freedom of peaceful assembly. However, he requested the public to be very responsible and refrain from damaging government and private property and obstructing the legitimately employed government and private sector employees. The Government Information Department says that 20 new COVID infections were reported today. Accordingly, the total number of COVID infections confirmed so far now stands at 664,217. No COVID-related deaths have been reported today. That ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Cabinet of Ministers has approved a proposal to waive off unpaid loans obtained from state banks by paddy farmers who have less than 2 hectares. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, as the Minister of Finance, submitted the proposal to the Cabinet. Accordingly, the Cabinet has given approval to waive off the initial loan amount which has been obtained from state banks for paddy cultivation on lands of 2 hectares or less. That came to you in our story, Main News.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watch Light tonight, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board said water supply to Colombo 12, 13, 14 and 15 was interrupted due to a water supply pipeline rupture. They said water supply will be on low pressure to Colombo 1 area. The Water Board said repair work is in progress and the water supply is expected to be restored by 6 a.m. tomorrow. That came to you in Watchlight. Coming up, world news and the headlines first. The world reacts as UK Prime Minister's endgame unfolds. The UNDP says the number of poor people in developing countries increased by 71 million in 3 months. European Parliament labels nuclear and gas power as green. The Kremlin in Moscow has taken a swipe at outgoing UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who has overseen consistent British support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia's invasion. President Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, Mr. Johnson really does not like them and they do not like him either. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who had developed a close relationship with Mr. Johnson since the start of the war, has yet to comment publicly on the end of his time in office. The European Parliament's former Brexit coordinator, Guy Verhofstadt, said Mr. Johnson's reign was ending in disgrace, just like his friend Donald Trump. A UN agency says the number of poor people in developing countries increased by 71 million in 3 months after the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The United Nations Development Programme today released a report on the impact of the Ukraine war, which sent prices of energy and food soaring. The UNDP says prices spikes for key commodities having immediate and devastating impacts on the poorest households. The UNDP says price spikes for key commodities are having immediate and devastating impacts on the poorest households. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has left European Union leaders scrambling for other sources of energy even as they try to tackle climate change. Now they have decided to label natural gas and nuclear plants as green. Yesterday, members of the European Parliament voted down an objection to applying the label to gas and nuclear power. Debate over the law has exposed deep rifts over how to fight global warming. Back to the world news headlines. The world reacts as UK Prime Minister's endgame unfolds. The UNDP says the number of poor people in developing countries increased by 71 million in 3 months. European Parliament labels nuclear and gas power as green. That ends world news. Moving on with development news, Minister Mahinda Amaraveera says that a national food production drive has been planned. He said many programs are being implemented to ensure food security. Among those programs are promoting home gardens, introducing alternative food crops and providing a market for excess food. The minister said assistance of divisional secretaries would be obtained for the program. That was development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
And on sports news, Namibia and Kenya will play off for a spot at next year's Rugby World Cup after securing their places in Sunday's final of the Rugby Africa Cup. Namibia strolled past Zimbabwe's 34-19 in their semi-final in France yesterday, ending the Sabres' dream of a third World Cup final appearance and first since 1991. It was a much tighter affair for Kenya in their last 4 matches, as the Zimbas edged past Algeria 36-33 in Marseille also yesterday. That came to you in sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Kiddies and Toys International, a subsidiary of leading Sri Lankan conglomerate Limra Holdings Limited, has launched Plex Toys in India by unveiling its first toy range. The playing blocks, the toys, were launched in partnership with Viacom 18 Media, India's fastest growing entertainment network and house of iconic brands, including Nick and Nick Jr. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And on economic news, tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka for the month of June totaled 32,856, recording a marginal increase when compared with the previous month. The June arrivals indicate a slight improvement in destination Sri Lanka despite the ongoing crisis. The data shared by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority showed that the improvement in arrivals was due to the increased arrivals from Australia. Sri Lanka versus Australia T20 and ODI cricket match series was held in the country last month, while the Test match series is currently underway. That was economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Finally, the weather report. The Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in the Sabaragamu province and in Nuwara and Kandy districts. A few showers may occur in the Western province and in Galle and Mathura districts. Strong winds about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the western slopes of the Central Hills and in the Southern province. That was the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. Public Utilities Commission Chairman reveals that petrol and diesel can be provided 200 rupees less than the current price. The Minister of Urban Development and Housing says allocation for funds for future development activities is problematic. The Foreign Minister reviews progress on the work of domestic mechanisms in relation to reconciliation and human rights. Women parliamentarians request for a workplace close to homes of pregnant mothers. The Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation powers the Karagatan transmission station. And on foreign news, world reacts as UK Prime Minister's endgame unfolds. And on sports news, Namibia faces Kenya for spot at 2023 Rugby World Cup.